Changing our name from igNew to Slingshot, interesting story.
It was actually I think it was my second or third day on the job.
I don't know what I was talking to her about, but we were standing over by the kitchen area,
I just blurted out randomly, have you ever considered changing the name?
and I was like, wow, okay. That was bold, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, actually, that makes a lot of sense.
At the time, I was really excited to start working at igNew. And when I kept telling my friends and family where I would be working, they kept thinking that I was saying igloo. When I talked to Dave Moore, I realized that there wasn't really a strong story behind why it was called igNew. So I thought this was an amazing opportunity to find a way that we can connect the origin story of the company and also provide some type of personality for it to have more of a brand presence. He said, well, if you want to change the name, why don't you come up with something? Me and the other designer at the time, we ended up writing a bunch of names and different traits of the company, and it took a lot longer than we expected. I wrote down the word slingshot, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. After all these weeks of working on this, that's the name. Originally, we were going to present 2 or 3 different names to Dave, and we were just so certain that it was going to be Slingshot that we presented one to him. We presented it, and he was excited about the name, but he needed some time to think about it, understandably. So it was after getting used to the name for him that we then rolled it out to the team. The reason that when I wrote down Slingshot, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it, is because when we were thinking through different names, we really wanted to come from the origin, which was Dave racing. His passion was racing. This is originally why the company came to be ultimately. So I wanted to go back to that. Slingshot is a racing term. Basically, when you bypass someone to slingshot around them to come into first. Also, it was what we did for our clients. We are taking their visions and then slingshotting them out into the ether, out into the public, out into the world. The name change really was the beginning of a snowball effect for where the company was heading. I was one of the first designers that was hired in the company. So we were started out of creative. So it was just a lot of changes going on at that time. It was the name, then we did the branding, then we also ended up moving offices. So everything was just starting to really change in the company. And the name was just the beginning of that snowball.